mentioned StockX. What's the background?
StockX, Rob, well, it's been going for a few years in terms of its conception before it's been released to market. So the background's a couple of guys got together in Hawke's Bay, John Cannon and Andrew Russell, a farm consultant and a farmer respectively, and had a view that the world of livestock trading needed to change and that there was too much cost and inefficiency involved in that. They put together a bit of a product called StockX, and they took that to market and raised some capital, and we've got 45 shareholders. About 30 of those are actively farming themselves, and look to build a model that can change the way livestock's traded nationally.
Because the world has moved on as far as the traditional farming that's been going back the last couple of hundred years.
Yeah, significantly. So livestock trading online is nothing new. But it is to New Zealand, and a few entities have had a go at doing this in the past, and in large part they haven't addressed the critical factor, and the critical factor in livestock trading is how do you address the transaction to make sure that it's safe and secure for buyers and sellers to trade. And at StockX we think we've delivered on that.
Well, I was just going to ask you, how did you do that? What are you doing?
So what we've done is we've standardised the livestock descriptions for different livestock categories and classes. And a listing, when it's created by a seller, that seller is guaranteeing that they will deliver that quality of animals as described to the buyer. The buyer is required to place funds into a trust account before the stock leave the seller's property. That gives both parties security around the transaction, knowing that what has been represented to be sold will be delivered, and correspondingly the money won't go to the seller of the livestock until the buyer receives the stock as described.
And is happy with them.
Absolutely. And so there's a feedback rating where the buyer and seller can rate each other on the transaction, and it's completely transparent. So buyer and seller can see information about who they are, where they are located, and what type of farming activity they're involved in.
Who organises the transport?
The buyer typically, but we can help facilitate that if the parties choose to use us.
And obviously somebody has to pay the ferryman.
Yeah, absolutely. So generally that's buyer's cost, as is typically the case, unless there's some specifics around the transaction that are seeing the seller pay the freight.
So how do you get 3 meals a day?
We get our 3 meals a day only by charging a small commission at the conclusion of a successful trade. So we're entirely success-based, and we're 2.5% as opposed to the industry standard of 5 to 6% for store stock transactions. And what StockX does, Rob, is quite interesting. It's a disintermediator. So we're taking out the middleman. We're taking out those positions where agents buy stock on behalf of themselves and sell on at a profit. We're removing the transport costs and the yarding fees, and obviously the commission difference from a seller's perspective of getting to market. So that can make a considerable difference to both buyers and sellers around the value that they get from a transaction.
Now, there'd be a lot of buyers who would suggest that they want to actually eyeball the stock.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is entirely achievable through StockX. So again, remembering that it's a completely transparent market, you can see who you're buying from, you can find out the details around the seller, where they're located, and phone numbers and names. You can arrange to go and see the stock, and we have a lot of buyers that do that. So while you can buy over the internet, you can have a standardised description of the livestock, you can see video and photos of animals, you can see weight files, growth rates, all those attributes that you may want to inquire about a line of stock and to ascertain its quality. You can also arrange to go and see them in the flesh. We absolutely encourage that, and that happens frequently.
As far as uptake is concerned?
We've got about 1,800 farmers that have registered with us in the 18 months that we've been operating, and that's growing significantly month on month. So we're seeing that that escalation in registrations, and certainly in trading activity as well.
Is this based on what's happening overseas?
Do you mean in terms of market uptake and the transition for farmers? I think so. I think farmers as a category of people in the New Zealand economy are adopting technology rapidly, much more quickly than probably a lot of people realise, and that's driven by access to internet connectivity, but also it's about driving cost out of their businesses and increasing the efficiencies that they can achieve through livestock trading. And having a platform orientation around StockX allows buyers and sellers to have access to a national market, and that's really important because what that does is that smooths out prices or opportunities to purchase different categories of livestock that people might be interested in acquiring, that they don't normally have access to through their agency contact, which is limited to the contacts that that person knows.
Jason, how's the price for stock established? Is it an auction system or is it a set price?
So the pricing mechanism for StockX and the transaction process is one of open tender, Rob. So that allows a seller to list livestock, put a price indication. Now that price indication isn't a reserve, and that allows buyers to bid, and they may bid higher or lower than the price indication depending on how the market is performing within the week. The seller then has the choice of who they might want to sell to, or not at all.
Oh, okay, so just because you've got 700 heifers doesn't mean to say that the price is going to be what you want.
No, that's right. So you don't have to be committed to selling. And that is what an auction does, doesn't it? It gives you a commitment to a process without a known outcome. So the open tender situation gives a lot of choice and a lot of control back to the selling farmer.
You don't have to pay for transport to get them to a yard and back if you don't sell them, I guess.
Absolutely, and that is often the unenviable situation that sellers are placed in. When they put all that effort into raising their stock and sending them to market, so there's that transport cost to get them there. Again, the yardage fees, and again, the commission rates that are payable in that normal traditional market, 5-6%. All of those costs are sunk ahead of an unknown outcome as to price. So StockX, you get an opportunity to meet the market, find out what value you can achieve, and then choose what the price is that you want to accept.
If a buyer puts an unrealistic figure on it, because I'm thinking of real estate, everybody wants to double their price, that it won't sell. So there's no.
That's right. And interestingly, the buyers in StockX are generally quite responsible in how they respond to price, because StockX is just another market within a multitude of livestock market opportunities out there. So prices generally are relatively robust across markets. So the seller and the buyer has very, very little risk associated with a transaction through StockX.
People can see the stock on their computer screen?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a complement of videos and complement of photos, and again you can upload weight files. They may be from for example, your true test scales, which can show growth rates for animals relating to the individual EID tag numbers. So there's a preponderance of information that a buyer can interrogate or look to give them confidence that what they're buying is what they require.
And it's across the board. It's sheep, beef and dairy.
Sheep, beef, dairy and deer, Rob. So all store stock transactions are catered to within StockX.
Is it seasonal? I guess it probably is.
All livestock transactions are seasonal, and the way we address, or an interesting way in which we address that, is allowing buyers to put up stock wanted notices. So this is a two-sided market, so it allows sellers to sell and buyers to inquire of the market for livestock they're wanting to buy. Also, there's a whole lot of functionality on the exchange whereby you can set up personalised alerts, which can of course be seasonal. So if you're looking for store lambs during the store lamb season, you perhaps might be looking for lines of lambs in excess of 500. Every time a listing of that type gets listed on StockX, the system will send you an alert, and it goes direct to your smartphone. You click a link and then you can bid on them. So we've had people that have been driving the tractor doing cropping, and they've bought the complement of their trading lambs for the season. We've had people that have had their feet up by the fire the night before a sale when the weather's been quite stormy, and thought I'd rather probably not go to the sale yards, and they've been able to purchase stock from the comfort of their living room lounge.
Jason, we've come a hell of a long way, haven't we?
We have, and I think there's a lot further that we can go, and we're just really starting on a journey, Rob, that's going to see a lot of change and a lot of functionality and transactional capabilities delivered to farmers through technology, and that's going to unlock a lot of value.